Welcome everyone to the 11th episode of the Super Spectrum. I'm Bear Truth, joined by my cousin Katie and my friend Jorge. We are happy to be reviewing Frankenstein for you guys today. I personally loved it. I think my cousin did too. We watched it together.
Yep.
We'll find out what Jorge thinks. Review-wise, you know me, that's not my strong suit. I like the breakdown, but we'll get into that shortly. But quickly, what I'll say is another 10 out of 10. You guys can bet easy on that for me pretty much all the time. But yeah, no, really, I think the movie did a good job of getting across a lot of great themes, so many that I felt overwhelmed. A lot of great messages through its many themes. And yeah, we're going to go into those, but the movie is really about the core of reality, which is life, death, and
so many things.
yeah, birth, and love, and hate, and upbringing. So we'll get into it, but yeah, Frankenstein, great actor for him. Guillermo del Toro's favorite director, equal to all my others. And I just think that the movie was awesome. I'll let the others go now, because I didn't prepare much for that, like I said, but
Yeah.
I know we called a review, and like I said in others, that's kind of a joke. It's a running joke. It's not a review, but that'll get us some clicks, right? So who would like to go next, guys?
I think I definitely agree with you that I think it was a gorgeous, beautifully crafted movie. Of course, I think most people, at least in the Western cultures, are familiar with the story of Frankenstein, at least the general synopsis of it. But I had never seen any Frankenstein movies in the past, and I have not read the book either. But I don't think I fully appreciated just the full tragedy of the story until I saw this movie. Um, I actually cried, probably more than once during the movie. It's just so sad and heartbreaking to me. And as Mike said, there are so many themes about humanity in this story, in this movie. They're beautifully portrayed on the screen in this adaptation. I thought the acting was phenomenal, and the direction, everything was gorgeously displayed. The imagery and cinematography was outstanding, I thought. Uh, I think I'd rate it like 9.5 out of 10.
Wow.
I didn't have many issues with it. I can touch on those later though if you want. The little things I didn't like, but majority fantastic. Loved it. What about you, Jorge?
Real quick, Jorge, I think there's maybe a little bit of feedback. If you could lower your volume, maybe that's adding to it, but either way, it's going to be fine. It won't be too loud.
Sorry, yeah, I'll make sure to do that. Yeah, let me know if it persists too much, and then I'll mess around with it a bit more.
Thank you.
But yeah, oh man, that's a lot to unpack. First of all, I'm really happy to be back on the show. Thank you for inviting me back. And yeah, it's
Same here.
I'm really happy to hear you guys enjoyed it. Oh man, this is tough. I don't want to be like the odd one out. I didn't really like it that much, to be honest.
That's perfectly fair.
Yeah.
Tell us why. I'd love to hear why.
Yeah, I've been thinking about it for a bit since I watched it. I think it's been like about a week since I was able to catch it. It was a lot. I think where do we even start? Honestly, like I just felt a lot of the things that were trying to come across. I didn't really feel like they were executed in the best way possible. I do like a lot of the thematic background, and obviously, I think this is probably, to me, it seems like the closest adaptation to what the actual book was, given a lot of other people's kind of take on the story and what I've heard. But yeah, I just felt like there was a lot of aspects of it that didn't really hit for me. I will say that it was beautiful in the production design, and pretty much every technical aspect about the movie was excellent. I love I love the look of the monster or the creature, however you want to call it. And yeah, I thought the just the background and the costuming and everything was top notch. It's not so much the technical aspects that I have a problem with. It's just more so kind of the way the story unfolds, and also just some of the choices they made. I feel like they just didn't connect for some reason. Yeah.
That's interesting.
I felt the movie was a little long, but I felt like they packed it out well. There were times where I honestly was like really feeling the length of the film, but I think that kind of like life and kind of like Frankenstein, maybe it's not perfect, but nothing's perfect. And maybe that makes it even more realistic and more meaningful, you know. The at you know, that's kind of a stretch, but
I think that's a great point though, because I think one of the bunch of themes of this movie
Hmm.
is like I think a strive for perfection.
ooh, yes,
Because
right, and there is none, right.
it's
There's
and he realized, like, Frankenstein, the doctor, realizes it's you can't capture that because
right,
like I heard one of the critiques, we saw it with your mom and dad,
yeah,
and one of their problems with it was, why did they have to, they didn't really understand why they had to take different
mhm,
parts of different people, like, to
right,
reincarnate some, like, make a person
right,
and bring them back to life.
right,
Like, they're like, why couldn't you just bring a whole person back to life?
right,
I think there was a couple reasons for that, but maybe it might not have been like super obvious.
right,
But I think one of them was he was trying to find like the best part of each human, because no
mm,
one person is perfect, obviously.
yes,
So he was trying to take the best like physical traits of of each human person, corpse, whatever that he
right,
had, and sew them all to bring them all together
yes.
to have a whole perfect person, ideally.
That I love that, and I remember you were bringing that up, and like first of all, it's a movie, so and it's a story, so nothing has to really like it's a man who's being revived completely. Yeah, that might work in real life, but anyways, it's a story. So, but I think
Also, if
what
it
you're saying,
was, sorry,
no,
just
it's okay.
one last thing. If it was just a whole person being brought back from the dead, it wouldn't be Frankenstein or Frankenstein's monster, that would just
Yeah,
be like a zombie.
right.
I think the main point or the main quality of the Frankenstein that we're all aware of is that he's sewn together mismatched parts.
I love that. And really quick, I said it might be a super stretch that I said that the imperfections made it perfect, but you can tell the movie was trying to do so much, and I think that might be it. It's like a little overwhelming, just like life is can be very overwhelming, and it really it takes studying and strategy to become better at life. And I feel like this movie, like I know I probably only caught like 20 to 25% of like what it was really trying to convey. Um, and but I really like that you like brought out that the movie is focusing on you cannot perfect life,
Mhm.
and that's like a huge thing. Like remember the it starts with the son of Victor being like, oh, you have to be the perfect surgeon basically or something like that,
Right,
and
right.
and
And
like
he kept harping on how his father made a mistake. His father's supposed to be like
right,
the best surgeon or the best doctor in the world, but his father messed up because he didn't bring his mother back to life.
right, yes, and
Sorry, maybe we're getting a bit ahead of
no.
ourselves, but
Let's enter the spoiler section, everyone. And first thing we should talk about is cycles and how um, this cycle of abuse is continuing and continuing, but and maybe there will always be some form of abuse. You know, maybe the cycle always has to repeat itself, but I feel like at the end they break it, and you know, maybe that's representative of a new life, right? Because Frankenstein is a completely new life. He's going to go on forever, and maybe, you know, if you're going on forever, there's no cycle of death anymore, right? So maybe that's part of the symbolism of, you know, we don't need to continue this abuse, all of these things that, you know, maybe breaking the cycle isn't, you know, living forever. Maybe breaking the cycle should look like being better people, which is what Frankenstein ends up, you know, becoming, a better person than his own creator. So there is so much to unpack here. But anything you guys want to say on that, and then I could get into. I didn't write that many notes because, like I said, this movie is overwhelming,
It is, yeah.
and I was trying to remember everything that happened, but yeah,
I think that's why I rated it so highly, though, because I kind of loved that about it.
same.
That I love it when a movie leaves you thinking more, you know,
Yeah.
and has so much in it that you just it stays in your head for a long time.
Mhm.
But I do want to say there's one aspect of this movie and an aspect of, I guess, the creature himself that I was not previously aware of, with in terms of the Frankenstein lore, is that he the creature, the monster, Frankenstein's monster, he was like almost like superhuman. Like he healed rapidly and he couldn't die. I didn't know that that was a thing.
That's from the
about.
book?
Well, I have to assume so. I don't know for sure, but if, like Jorge said, this is the most accurate screen book to screen adaptation, right? In terms of like accuracy to the original source material. So I have to assume that's true. I don't know for sure though, but
I've been hearing that.
Okay.
And it really makes me interested in reading the book. I feel like I saw a little bit of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, some of the Invisible Man, and like those might not even be written around the same time, but I think they are. And these people were so articulate and like so well thought out, and it feels like we've almost digressed a little bit, but at the same time, you know, there are, you know, great authors still today. But anyways, that book I'm sure holds up, especially with such a timeless theme, you know, as this book has. So
Yeah, to go off of what you were mentioning, I do feel like the thematic through line of sons and fathers is very very much the focal point. I think what I like about it, and I do like this aspect of the, and I feel like it's a carry on from the story in the book, but just the fact that Victor's resentment makes him trying to do something greater than himself, and ultimately the creature is flawed just like him, and he reverts back to kind of treating it in a similar way to how maybe he was treated, just like the abuse and trying to have it be this thing that it's not. And it's not till, and I guess we could dive into that more, but it's ultimately not the way to go, and he learns that and decides to, you know, do the right thing and actually embrace him for who he is. But to your point, also, it was interesting going back to the book stuff, because I haven't read it myself. I have heard that from people who have, but if we're talking about differences, it's interesting. Apparently, the love interest, or I guess, I forget what her name was. Mia Goth's character. Do any of you remember what the
Elizabeth.
Elizabeth? Thank you.
Welcome.
Yes. So, to my knowledge, she is with Victor in the book. The addition of the brother is something that seems to solely be from this adaptation, which is very interesting.
Their relationship is.
Yeah. So I believe there's a reasoning for that, obviously, because I feel like he's adding more obstacles for Victor, and whereas in the book it seems like it's very easy for him to have courted Elizabeth and have her be kind of like to deprive him of that. I think it's interesting because I feel like that adds more to his kind of resentment, and also the fact that the creature is so easily like charms her, and she's like very like um, kind to it. And yeah, like I said, there's a lot of those things that I do feel like are very good, and I did want to point those out. But that is a big difference from the book, from what I heard. I don't know if you guys had any thoughts about that.
Well, that two brothers fighting over the same woman. That's actually a really, really old story. But and I think it might be like the Osiris, Seth, and the female goddess. I think in that in like Egyptian mythology. I'm not exactly sure, but I love that he does and he doesn't like pursue Elizabeth, like he, and at the same time Elizabeth didn't want to be with him, but like, and maybe he would have just really gone for it if he knew that she would go for him. But I kind of like that he respected his brother a little bit, William. And but Elizabeth, there is a something I pointed out after we saw it. I don't know if you've noticed this, Jorge, or if you've heard people talk about it. I haven't watched too much about this movie, like review wise, and I haven't heard it been brought up. But Mia Goth plays his mother and the wife, or the bride to be, and
Yeah.
so that's, you saw that.
Yeah, no, I was aware of that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's a huge thing in the movie. It gets Victor believing in spirituality because he's like, remember he says like, I feel like we're connected, like physically or however, and like basically like referencing that like this might be the reincarnated version of my mother. Remember, she is the age of William. William was born the day that his mother died, right? And so it literally, I mean, it would be perfect. But yeah, no, it's sad that that it all happens the way that it does. But yeah, man. I love like, and Heretic recently just had a, like, I love when movies do synchronicities
I'll
sometimes.
try to avoid spoilers for that one because I haven't seen it yet and I really want to.
Okay, Heretic's amazing. Yeah. Harry Potter 2, I was just watching Chamber of Secrets.
Classic.
Two synchronicities that point that like I was like, clear, like it's subtext, but like clearly, at least in my opinion, the I can't even remember if it's in the book, but like maybe how the director presents it would be the only way that it even is shown. But yeah, I'll one day talk about that. But yeah, really good.
I think one of the big themes, at least at the beginning, that presents itself at the beginning, at least of this movie,
Mhm.
is grief
Mhm.
and how death, losing a loved one, or just loss of love in general, can lead to having such a strong, profound effect on someone that, as is the case with Dr. Frankenstein in this movie or in the story, is that it can lead you to do some absolutely horrible, like terrible things.
Yeah.
And I guess that kind of raises a question itself, whether his actions were truly terrible or brilliant, or that's another theme. Like the duality of this story is what he did tragic and horrifying and terrible, like a like overtly bad thing, or is it like a marvel of science and a miracle or something,
Yes. To go against the duality, though, it is both.
Right. Yeah.
And everything has, it's really more gray than it is black and white.
Right. But it all stemmed from him losing his mother, and
Right.
that affected him so deeply. He wanted to try to stop death entirely itself.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
I also forgot to mention this earlier, but I think another one of the reasons he took a bunch of pieces from separate people is because he also wanted to prove that the brain can connect and work with the nerves from different people, like
That's
two
interesting.
different people's nervous systems can function like in
Is that
harmony.
is that like
You know
a
what I mean?
scientific question?
That's a good point. Yeah. I guess that can kind of also relate to like the human psyche and our souls, like how our souls connect, you know, being represented physically with the nervous system of two different human bodies. Does that make sense?
Oh, it does. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I knew what you were talking about. Um, yeah, like it's like you're expanding on what you were saying before. Like, is it exclusive to, you know, your body, or can we carry it to another?
Mm-hmm.
Um, uh, is it just, yeah, anyways, let's go on. If you guys are ready, let's go to the first note I have. So the wheel on the ship, right? The captain's wheel, right? And then in the captain's quarters, there is a wheel window, right? In the tower, there is the flower, which is also looking like a wheel. But this is all to do with cycles, time, um, and life, death, you know, birth, life, death, you know, um, change, you know, it's always constantly moving. And us trying to deal with that. But we already talked about cycles, you know, and we're going to more, so I'll continue moving on. I already talked about Mia Goth's character being the reincarnation, possibly, of Frankenstein's own mother, and I love that that's just left up to interpretation, you know, because things like that in life you're never getting an answer for. Even
Yeah.
if you go and have some sort of, you know, interface with some crazy beings, right? Who knows if what they're telling you is true or not, right? That as well. And then, so also, I kind of saw this a little bit, but Elizabeth represents the beauty and wonder in life. She's interested in Frankenstein, and she has some spirituality. She says, "Oh, I see the symmetry of the creator in Frankenstein, right?" And this sparks Victor to be able to. This is what he's missing to be able to create life, right? He then goes with the symmetry that he didn't, you know, see, right? He doesn't see the perfection already in life, right? But then she points it out to him, right? That spirituality, and then it moves forward. He can move forward, but she sees the divinity in life, and this rubs off on Victor eventually, like I said. But anything you guys want to say about that?
I don't think so. I think I
Okay,
agree.
awesome.
Yeah.
So,
Good points.
all right, good. And thank you. And Elizabeth says only monsters play God. This can imply God is also a monster, right? Because I mean, yes, it's like only monsters play God, right? Are acting like God, right? So it can exclude, you know, God entirely. And we already just said that she is, you know, speaking of God in a spiritual way, in a loving way. You know, noticing the pattern and the you know, perfection in the symmetry of, you know, creation. But anyways, I wanted to bring up, like, and it leads to other ideas in the that I had about the film. But so if she says only gods, or sorry, only monsters play God, right? Kind of also implies God is a monster, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is kind of like the demiurge in Gnosticism. Um, and sometimes I feel like Frankenstein because I'll get mad at my creator for making me, right? This anger sometimes gets directed at God, but also at my parents, right? When it's directed at God, it's like, this is sadistic. Like, what is this, a show? Like, is this like, what is this for your entertainment, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or like, you know, like, why wouldn't you just help, right? Obviously, you know, I kind of see how God works in mysterious ways, so I don't really get caught up on that anymore. But and then parents, when it gets pointed at my parents, I kind of feel like I did in the Honey Don't review, like this was kind of ignorant for them to even do this, because now I'm in this situation. You know, I go through these ups and downs, but
also with your parents, you have to acknowledge they're also human, so they make mistakes.
Oh, of
But
course.
God is not supposed to make mistakes.
Yeah, right.
Right?
So, well, it depends on your interpretation or what you think God is,
Right.
right? And so yeah, I was just talking about how I could feel the resentment in times of struggle. Like I said, sometimes feeling like God's sadistic or my parents were ignorant in having me and creating me. Um, but this is like when man is mad at God for making him, right? The I hate people sentiment or I wish I was dead sentiment, like similar to how Frankenstein, like I said, hates Victor for making him. It's just something that I thought about, and like I said, I want to connect it to a second idea, which that was. But
I'm glad you brought that up because I think that's one of the major themes or one of the most important themes of the movie is the relationship between man, humanity, and our creator, whether that's God or your parents, I suppose. Like there is a lot of both, I feel like, in the movie.
Yeah.
Because one of the things your mom said she didn't like was at the end where they're kind of reconciling Frankenstein and the creature. They're reconciling towards the end, and he calls him son. She said she didn't like that.
Yeah.
I can't remember why, but that wasn't even the first time he called him son. This is a little thing that I noticed at the very beginning when he first wakes up and the monster is there, and he realizes, his experiment was a success. He opens up the window to the sunlight, and the creature cowers at first, but he goes, "Son, son," and I'm like, he's talking about sunlight, but he's also like calling him son. Like it's a double meaning kind of language there.
And that's when the two times when he's happy with his creation is when he calls him son, or like you're saying, not exactly calls him son in the beginning,
right?
But when he is like the sun and completely, full of life and joyous, all the things the sun represents, right? Like, and for him, science and, sun is God and life giver, right?
Right.
He, yeah. Anyways, a lot of cool things in this movie.
Yeah. Such another great theme to talk about.
Yeah.
You want to add anything, Jorge?
No, I mean, that's what's tough about talking about something like this. I guess I agree with that. I think it's pretty interesting how that aspect of it, and you mentioned I think your parents having like an issue with that. I didn't really see that being an issue. I guess it's more so like their maybe what your mom was kind of getting at is that like it didn't seem like that relationship was built that much.
Yeah, I remember she said I remember now she said it was because she felt like it was out of his character to say that because it was like the first time he'd acknowledged his humanity and in a positive way, and that he was his creator in a positive way. She felt like it was out of character, I guess, for him to say that.
Yeah. I don't know if it's out of character necessarily. What I would say, I guess, it was more so like I feel like that wasn't built enough for me to believe that. And again, I don't think there's like a structure to how we're talking about it. But I guess that goes into a criticism I had, and I think you mentioned like maybe it being a bit too long. I actually wish. I don't mind something being long. I feel like as long as everything in it is justifiably there for a reason, and I do think everything that's in here is like important. I feel like if anything, I wish there would have been more. I feel like that, like for example, just like the last kind of back and forth they have, and especially how the film is structured. Like I feel like there's like a chunk missing almost of like the falling out and then like them just kind of being at odds with each other. Like I feel like there wasn't enough of like more of an insight into like that kind of rivalry and like just like fighting that they have, hunting him essentially. And that's why like when it reverts back to, because structurally like the movie opens with like him catching up to Victor and kind of like forcing him to reconcile with how like the pain that he's caused him. And it's a great way to go about that. I think that's part of the book, but I feel like just afterwards, just how it tends to focus on different things. And I feel like that stretch, I feel, needed a bit more time to kind of dive into it. But anyway,
I
I'm
think
digressing a little.
I think I agree with you there because I agree with everything you just said because the movie was long, but it didn't necessarily feel like it to me because like you said, I felt like every scene and everything was justified,
Yeah.
except but you're right because there is kind of there's a time skip I think between when he's first created and then after some amount of time we're at the point of him like losing his patience with him and he's grown to hate him. Um, I wish there was a scene of him like parenting him almost like teaching him how to be a human about the world. Like yes, we got that scene about the sunlight right at the beginning, but we could have had a little bit more, almost like that scene in Edward Scissorhands where Vincent Price is reading him the storybook or the etiquette book.
I've never
I don't
seen
know if you
that.
Yeah.
remember, but uh it's like creator, imparting education or wisdom into their creation or their child. So yeah, I wish there would have been a little bit more of that because it almost seems like wait, he just starts hating him out of nowhere, like
Yeah.
because he can
Yeah.
only say the one word and he gets so frustrated about that. It's like, well, did you even try to teach him more? You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
we didn't
no,
really
for
get
sure.
much.
I completely agree with that. That's kind of what I meant when I was explaining that. Like I do feel like there's kind of like a weird, almost like time skip in terms of like their relationship. Like I feel like there was like to me it was really interesting. So not to dive more into that, like show like maybe like the gradually like how, because it seems like from one day to another he just like starts being super frustrated
Mhm.
with them, and I just didn't believe that like transition so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, I like you got that you guys are bringing that up. Um, some people are really not made to be teachers though, or have no
Yes.
training on it, and so they really crumble quickly. But especially when they're like their standards are so high for themselves and for others, but and when they think they're so much better than others, that could be a really big problem. Um, you know, um, but one thing that I thought, and I was like, ooh, this feels so messed up, or it feels like so bad. Like the movie wasn't working for me in this aspect, but then it like saved itself and like completely resolved my problem with it. And this is he when Frankenstein, when you learn about how cool Frankenstein is, with learning how to, or like learning a lot from this old blind man, right? And Frankenstein's smart and he's kind to Elizabeth and blah blah. When you see how cool he is, and then I'm watching this, and then I'm like remembering how he just like destroyed people and ripped off their jaw or like whatever in the beginning of the movie, and I'm like, what the heck? But then when you see what happens to Elizabeth and his upbringing as well, it like kind of I was like, well, honestly, I mean, if I was in his position, I probably would just be on a rampage too and not caring about my life or anyone else's at that point. Uh,
Maybe that kind of shift that you mentioned of him like one moment tearing people apart and the next moment being like kind and gentle with the old man. Maybe that is like him mirroring whoever he's trying to emulate or whoever he's taking guidance from at that particular moment because like Victor was nothing but cruel and you know mean to him and violent almost at
right.
least in his mannerisms and the way he treated him.
Mhm.
He was nothing but negative influence to the creature, so he reflected that back with the violence himself,
Well, in the
but then the
beginning,
old man is kind and nurturing to
yes.
him.
But in the beginning, when he's only had Victor's education, yes, he only says Victor, which shows that he is a reflection of like the poor um, education, making a poor student. But he's not violent in the beginning of the movie.
Right, yeah, you're right.
So and that
uh I might be misremembering the order of stuff then, but that could be another one of the messages of the movie is the that in some cases a student not learning or not behaving appropriately could just be a reflection of that they had a poor teacher.
Well, they always say it's the parent's fault,
Right. Yeah.
You know, so, and it's literally the parent in this
Yes.
case, right?
Victor kind of is both his teacher and his parents.
Yes.
Parents are just teachers, essentially.
Right.
So,
They're your first teacher.
yes.
And all right, so good guys. Let's go on. So Victor and his creature have similar tragedies happen to them over and over, kind of like how death repeats. So I was thinking maybe like the tragedy of death, you know, or it's not really a tragedy depending on how you look at it, but like I when I wrote that, I don't know exactly what I was thinking of, but like maybe yeah, we'll keep going. Then Victor repeated the harsh upbringing he experienced with his father onto his son, onto his own son, Frankenstein. You know, of course, we've spoken about that. Victor is afraid of death, so is man. You know, this is there's, I think, Max Heindel. He has, it's, there's not like a good name for it. He never gives a good name for it, but he talks about how your or how man's knowledge of his mortality is actually running a lot of that. His fear of that is running a lot of his actions. So this is a good example. I'm going to die one day, and nothing. This is the only life I have, so I might as well do whatever the hell I want. You know what I'm saying? So that is a Victor is ruled by death, right? He's afraid of death, and so is man. So really good. That archetype is represented well now.
I think another one of the messages of the story is, and we see it towards the end, is that yes, death is like one of the fundamental truths of humanity, all life in general, and it's I think one of the messages is that because because the monster can't die, and that is clearly a source of torment for him because he has to watch everyone else around him die. Death might also be one of the things that make life so precious, is because it ends. So it, you know, if kind of maybe it's kind of related to the point we were making earlier about imperfections, that maybe the monster's life is, because he can't die, he can't end, he feels like it has no meaning, or even less meaning, because it's not finite. Whereas everyone else, you know, we can't escape death. So
right. So it gives us like a little like yeah, you should make the most of it, you know.
Right, yeah.
And yeah, he doesn't have that
because it's temporary, it's not permanent. That makes it more special.
Right. So going on to the fact that Frankenstein can't die, right? This is like how our newest creation, right? AI, right? Man's new Frankenstein, right? It won't be able to die, right? And Katie, we were going over the notes a little bit before we started, and Katie saw this note, and she said, just like AI, Frankenstein 2 is an amalgamation of all things, all people, right? Just so going back to what Katie was saying, right?
I think it's a testament to this story that we're still talking about it to this day. It's such an old story, you know, and it continues to relate to our modern day society, like we were just talking about with the newest implementation of our latest technology, AI. And AI is, to me at least, a lot like Frankenstein's monster, because AI is like this horrifying, grotesque amalgamation of all the different parts of humanity, just like the creature is, at least to me.
Wow. So,
and it's also a good thing, but also a bad thing, you know.
Yeah, everything is more gray than it is black or white.
Right.
For sure.
Yeah, definitely looking at how the AI unfolds, you know. I'm gonna be trying to use it for good. But and I hope you guys do too. Come on now. We got to do what's right. So I got a vibe. Next note. I got a vibe like that God doesn't love us because we're not smart enough. Just like how Victor doesn't love his creation because he's not smart enough. It's like, like, it. We're in the situation we are now, not because of God's fault, but He's punishing us because we're not smart enough. This is the Atlantis story, but you know how if you watched Super Spectrum before, go watch the Honey Don't review. My worldview is that we're a part of God, and we're the first ones to blame, right? Because we're the ones that have choice in this world, right? And we're the part of God that has choice. And so if we are, getting punished, yes, it's because we're not smart enough. But it's not because God is, it's not. God is a part of us, right? It's not really, and it's part of everything, right?
Mm.
It's not something real, in my eyes, at least, punishing. It's not a third party punishing us. It's like we're punishing ourselves because we're still repeating these cycles of abuse, selfishness, sometimes too much selflessness, right? So like you teach a man how to fish, don't feed him for a day, right? Like can't be too selfless. Don't throw pearls to swine, right? Can't be too selfless. We should love from a distance instead of um, going all the way sometimes. But anyways, we're gonna get that balance one day, guys. Promise. Selfishness or self-preservation with selflessness is gonna be balanced one day, and we're going to be more God conscious. So soon. But anyways, um, right. Oh, so I said this. I think it's not God that doesn't love us, but ourselves not knowing how to love ourselves. And these thoughts also carry into the shakers and movers of reality, not loving the common man for his ignorance. So it's kind of like, Victor would be the shakers and the movers. Common man would be Frankenstein. And the top are blaming, the common man, like, you're not getting it, you're too ignorant, right? And so we're going to, keep whatever we're doing to you. So everything in life, universe in a grain of sand, right? You can find these you find the macrocosm in the microcosm, right? So it's like a fractal universe. But going on, anyone want to talk about any of that?
Yeah, I wanted to kind of dive into that a little bit. I think, to your point, I guess that goes also into the thematic that you were discussing earlier, of also acceptance. I think a large part of the film revolves around kind of accepting each other, but more so like oneself. I think Victor,
Forgiveness.
yeah, forgiveness, especially, yeah, forgiveness for, in this sense, just like the perpetual idea of like trying to make something that it's not. I think it's just kind of accepting how one is, if that makes sense. Yeah, I feel like that goes into the death subject matter that we were discussing too. Victor's so adamant about this trauma that he's experienced, is kind of like he wants to kind of surpass death and not accept that as like we don't have to, it doesn't have to resort to this. And you know he ends up learning from a person who can't die the true kind of the essence of how life is, and the importance of kind of like moving on and just accepting that things have an end and things cannot be meddled with and beyond the way that they are, or at least in the way that he wants it to be. Things just kind of, I feel like that's what I meant earlier when it was interesting talking about the differences between the book and how Elizabeth is with his brother instead of being with him. Like, it seems like there's a whole lot that's taken from him, and he's trying really hard to impose his own kind of values, well, the wrong values in this case, just trying to constantly be at odds with everything. And death being one of them. Just I think it's very nice that his death, at the point in the story where he dies is when he is accepting of the creature and like of what he's done, and just ask him to forgive him for what he's the harm that he's done to him. So yeah, I feel like that's a very important part of the film, and one that I like. So I wanted to mention that.
You brought up acceptance earlier as well, and I don't know if you know, but Guillermo del Toro says love is about acceptance, right? Or love is acceptance. Can't remember his exact quote. So crazy you brought that up, and you saw that in this film, because that is, from the director himself. So saying that, and that's always stuck with me. Um, and yeah, for the forgiveness in the end, right? He can then move on, right? Forgiveness puts you at peace, right? In that heavenly state, right? Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they did or have do, right? So and that is what Frankenstein does. That's what Jesus does in Revelation too, right? And then the dead can awaken and go to heaven.
I
But
kind of love that
yeah.
that scene where he says he forgives him,
Mhm.
and I love that whole. I love the whole theme of forgiveness in this movie,
Mhm.
and kind of makes me think like Jesus and God,
Mhm.
you know, are they say like Jesus is love, Jesus is forgiveness, God is forgiveness. We will always be forgiven. Jesus died for our sins to protect us, and so we, as long as we're repentant, we'll always be forgiven. But maybe we need to reverse that, and so God always forgives us, but maybe sometimes we need to forgive God.
Okay, and we need to forgive ourselves too.
Mhm.
The higher man is like Christ, the Christly man, the God conscious man. He forgives, right? Like I said, he forgives he forgives the lower man because they literally don't know what they're doing is wrong. And that gives him peace, right? Nirvana, heaven. And that is, you know, it is, it's, but at the same time, we should, instead of just asking for repentance, right, for some external thing, right, like if we know, um for I forget the quote in the Bible, but for he who knoweth it to be sin, then it is sin, right? And and then no, for him who knoweth to be sin but still doeth, something like that, uh it is sin, right? um and yeah, we should definitely hold ourselves accountable.
So
That's
saying kind of like if you don't know any better, then it's not sin,
sin, exactly.
or
And that's
maybe it's
why
more forgivable.
we take from the tree of knowledge and the tree of good and evil, right? Humans did, right?
Hmm.
Animals don't have choice, they don't know any better, right?
Hmm.
um so yeah, no, we need to take that, our choice is what makes us different, and that is the most important thing. The only hiccup I have when we're talking about Jesus and forgiving us for our sins is, you better hold yourself accountable. If you know it's a sin, then stop doing it. You know, but let's keep going. Um, I got a vibe. No, no, I already said that.
Oh yeah.
I feel like this movie is even deeper than I noticed the first time, and I missed a lot of the dialogue this first time. I've only watched it once, but anyways, I think it's a lot more deeper than what I noticed in this first viewing. I also think that I know there was a lot of dialogue I couldn't even hear. I think it was Elizabeth in the beginning. I didn't understand a word she was saying, or it was
Mm.
someone. It was someone I couldn't understand a single word. I was just like, that's okay. I'm not gonna be mad, but
That's
like
why sometimes
I'm the type of person who fixates on the beginning of the movie, because I heard Charlie Kaufman say one time, the end is in the beginning, right? The beginning is in the end, right? So I know the whole main idea of the film is right there in the beginning of the movie,
Huh.
on purpose, for directors who really, study film and study life, because like I said before, it's a microcosm macrocosm thing, right? Like it's all fractal. The the um it's all one part of the greater whole, like a hologram type thing. But
Sorry, sometimes it's hard for me to go to the movie theater, watch a movie in the movie theaters that I've never seen before because I can't understand what they're saying. Like,
yes.
especially if it's like a period piece where they have stilted dialogue or somewhere where they have really strong accents.
Mhm.
It's hard, and I miss a lot. I think maybe I wonder if that's another reason where we as a society are kind of moving more towards like streaming, because when I stream, I watch everything with subtitles.
I think that's important. I hope people are being and I see it, when when people say this generation's all bad, right? Like it's like, well, no, I see these people on Instagram younger than me studying movies before I was studying movies, And but yeah, that is a positive, Katie, that now with streaming, we have it at our fingertips, like and that's the type of movie viewer I am. Not when I'm watching with other people because I feel bad, but like I'm the type of person, if I like get distracted or if I missed some dialogue, I will rewind
Yeah,
in
same.
the first viewing. I don't even care. I need to really pay to see everything that's happening.
But if I'm gonna watch a movie or something new with at home with someone else, I always ask like, is it okay if we watch with subtitles? Like I just
Yes. Oh, and I'm a subtitles guy
yeah.
for that reason.
Right there with you guys too. Yeah.
Awesome. All right.
But I also wanted to say, just touching on that last note too, there's almost so much to talk. Like you said, it's overwhelming. There's so much to talk about with this story.
Mhm.
I feel like we could never capture it all in an hour.
Yes, or an hour with our first viewing either.
That too,
Yeah.
yeah. Like I
Maybe
think
our fifth one.
like
So
people study this story, people
Yes.
write essays on this
Correct.
story
Yeah.
for. I think it's definitely well deserved. So
yes.
there's a whole lot we probably can't even touch on because we just simply don't have the time.
Yes. Okay, and last note for me at least. My favorite scenes were with the old blind man. I almost cried during those scenes. He
I did
spoke
cry during that scene.
and he spoke with so much wisdom. I was just like, this is of all the people that rubbed off on Frankenstein the most, right? Because like you're saying, like he's an amalgamation of everyone, right? And literally and figuratively. And I feel like the old wise man, blind wise man, is the one who and the blind man, right? There's a quote in the Bible, God doesn't see like man does. For man sees the outside, but God sees the heart,
Mhm.
and this is being blind, not judging a book by its cover, and that's something I always bring up if you watch these videos. So that is the blind man, and that is the forgiveness, and that is the Frankenstein's selfless selflessness and care for others. So
I just wanted to say one last thing about the movie. One of the things I really did appreciate, this might sound odd, but I can be a pretty morbid person. But one of the things I really appreciated about this movie was the gore scenes. They were so, to me at least, it evoked such a visceral, disturbing feeling of horror in me. And I think because it was so graphic and but it was also very clinical, at least for the time, because he's a doctor, so there was a methodicalness quality to it, but it was still so overtly violent and horrifying, and it represents like all the morals of the story, how what he it's like just a visual representation of what he has done is so horrifying. And I lost my train of thought there, but
Sweeney Todd's what I'm thinking of.
It really freaked me out.
Yeah,
I love Sweeney Todd too.
Period piece with gore.
Yep, love it.
Such a beautiful, not for that reason, movie, but it's a beautiful movie.
It is another movie with very good gore in it, though.
Yeah. Well, that is what I was thinking of. It's like extreme amount of gore.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks like realistic, and it's very off-putting when it happens.
Yes.
But that's it, guys. I don't want to keep you guys for any longer. I think for me, that's it. Is that it for you guys?
Yeah, pretty much.
Awesome.
Definitely recommend the movie, I would say.
Yeah.
But that's just my opinion.
Yeah, I would say I would definitely not discourage anyone to watch it. I will say it's not my favorite of his stuff, but I think there's still a lot to like, and I think just for the value of like seeing a new Del Toro film, it's probably worth catching, at least for that.
I think he definitely excels with visuals. Del Toro. Actually, yesterday I just rewatched one of my favorite movies of all time, which I didn't realize was from him, Pacific Rim. It's a very campy, corny movie, but I adore that movie.
Speaking of
And
movies,
has stunning visuals again.
I've never seen that, but my brother loves it. And speaking of movies that I didn't know or that we didn't know were made by our boy, but Crimson Peak, man, I got to see that now. I didn't know that was made by him. Before I was just
haven't
like,
heard that
okay,
one.
2016 horror movie, boring or whatever. But
Crimson Peak.
Crimson Peak,
I'll
yeah.
have
I
to
was,
put that on the
oh, and
list to watch.
Mia Goth might be in it, but probably not. But
What's your favorite
also
Del
some.
Toro film, Jorge?
Oh, Pan's Labyrinth for sure. Yeah, that was huge, especially when I was a kid. I think that was the first one I saw from him, without even like realizing who he was, and yeah, that was a like a gateway film for me. So
I mean, he's
yeah,
such a prevalent director. There's probably so many more that we all love.
Yes. My number one, I've said it before, Nightmare Alley, tarot readings in that film, crazy. Everything about that movie.
I haven't seen that one either, but I'll check it out.
That's got to
That's
be
a
a
good
classic.
yeah, I would
You saw
say.
it, Jorge?
Oh yeah, no, that one's great. I do like that one a lot. I feel like that one, it didn't get a bad rap, but I didn't think it had like the same impact as like Shape of Water did. But I
Yeah,
think
no.
it's like same, like I like them both equally. Like they're very good. So yeah, I'm with you on that one.
I never saw Shape of Water, but I know that it got way more good reception than, or I mean, it got more noticed at least than Nightmare Alley. I
Yeah.
forgot he made Shape of Water. I want to see that. Yeah.
Yeah, no. Top three from him would probably be Pan's Labyrinth and man, he's made so many. Probably maybe Nightmare Alley. Yeah. And then third place probably like Shape of Water or one of the Hellboy movies, which those are great. Going off of the Pacific Rim, like I feel like that's why he's such a good director because he can do something very like serious and dramatic and very.
He has a lot of range for sure.
Yeah, his style is like kind of adequate for anything, and he brings the same like strengths to it. So yeah, but I would say those are my favorites for him.
You ever see Kronos? Any of you guys?
No, I'll have to check that one out too.
You know about it?
No.
Oh, okay. It's like his first movie, I believe, and
Interesting.
shot in the 90s.
Huh.
Yeah, that one's good too. Yeah.
Always want to see it. I love a good movie that's like uh it's like simple, self-contained, but also extremely deep. And especially when, it's a lower budget movie that ends up leading to a director with a strong career. It's worth watching. So
I'm trying to add all these movies we're talking about to my streaming, to my watch list.
Hell yeah!
So I don't
No,
forget later.
you got a lot to watch. You can't go wrong with him, honestly.
Yeah.
Well, all right, guys. I appreciate you both being here. Love you guys.
Happy to
You have a
be a
good
part
night.
of this again. Thanks a lot.
Thank
No,
you.
No, thank you guys for being here. It really turns it up, I think exponentially. So this was all about here, Super Spectrum. Hope you guys have a great night, and I hope you watch Frankenstein and enjoy it. And feel like you spent, your time in a good place. So bye, guys. See you.